Well, now that we have our pages cut and folded and all nestled together inside, let's go ahead and sew them up. I have in the past, to bind these two journals that I made, I have used what's called a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. And that worked out great, but I think for this journal I'll do something a little different and use a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. So let's go ahead and sew this up. What I like to do first, I just double check to make sure I have all my pages arranged exactly the way I want them. And so I'm going to kind of tap it on the table to make sure all the edges are even, the top and bottom edges, and also to make sure that all these folds are nestled right up against each other. You want that nice and snug. So I'm going to hold that firmly, and the first thing I'm going to do is take a scrap piece of paper, and I've just got it folded over the top edge, and I'm going to take one of these large paper clips, and I'm not even going to put it down all the way. I'm going to do this on both sides of the fold here, and the reason why I'm doing this is to hold it together, but I also am using this scrap paper because the chances of me damaging the paper somehow using these paper clips is pretty good if I don't protect it. So, and I can see that all my folds are still all snug together, so with the paper clips this isn't going to go anywhere. So now I'm going to take my wax linen thread and get a pretty good piece of it here. And the best way that I can think of to tell you how much to cut is I always just measure it according to my the length of my spine here. So what I'm going to do is just hold it on each end. So there's 1 length, 2 lengths, and I'm going to do 3 lengths and add a little bit just for fun. So for this book I'm going to do 3 lengths of thread, and now I'm going to take it between my fingers, and just with my thumbnail I'm going to flatten it out, and that way when I put my thread in there, it just goes straight through the eye of the needle there. So okay, so I've got all that taken care of, so I'll put that aside. Now we need some holes punched before we can start sewing. So what I'm going to do is take the length, and since we are doing a 5-hole pamphlet stitch, we need to punch 5 holes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to eyeball this and just make a pencil mark right there. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer. So I'm going to make a pencil mark right here about in the center. Of course you can measure this if you want, but I think I'm just going to eyeball this. And then I'm going to go up here to the top and put another mark, and then I need one down here at the bottom. And you don't want to get too close to the edge down here with your holes, because you run a risk of tearing the paper once you start sewing, and we don't want to do that. So now I have 3 marks. I need 2 more, so I'm just going to take the difference between these 2 and put a mark in the middle, and then with these 2 put a mark right about the middle. And so now I have 5 pencil marks ready to be punched, and I'm going to use a book awl. You can use a paper piercer or even a push pin if you don't have a book awl or a paper piercer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my with my left hand here, I'm going to hold this side almost at a 90-degree angle to each other. And with my book awl, I'm going to put the tip right there on that pencil mark, and I'm holding the book awl just a little bit above the surface of the table. Just, you know, I'm not doing this and I'm not going up. I'm going to try to go as straight through as I possibly can. So, but I am holding it just a little bit up off the table. And so now I'm going to push as straight through as I can, and I'm just going to close it over, and there it came through the other side. So now I have a hole that's right there along the fold. If I had gone up in an upward motion as I was poking that through, I would possibly end up with the hole way out here, and I don't want to do that. So, okay, so let's go ahead and do that for the rest of the holes. So I'm going to do the same thing. There's my second and my third, and now let's go down here. And the last one. Okay, so now I have 5 holes going up the spine of my journal, and they're all in pretty much right along this fold line. If you get one of your holes a little off, it's okay. Just do the best you can to try to get that right there on the fold. So, okay, so now that we have our holes punched, we can grab our needle and go ahead and from the inside of the book, go ahead and place your needle in that center hole. And if it doesn't want to go through right at the very first, just kind of jimmy it around a little bit, and it'll go through for you. So I'm going to pull that through, and I'm going to leave about this much. So, and to get started, I'm going to hold it down with my thumb so it doesn't try to go through. Okay, so now from the outside, and you can start on either side, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and go up here, and I'm going to put the needle through here, through this hole, and I'm just jimmying it in there a little bit. So here we go. Pull that through. Okay, and now I'm going to go to the next hole. Pull it through. Okay, so now I'm at the top. Well, I need to get the thread down here to these 2 holes, so we're going to have to weave back down here. So I'm going to go back through this hole that we've already been in. And I'm going to try not to pierce the thread that's already there. If you see that you have pierced the thread, go ahead and back your needle out, because you don't want to pierce the thread. It'll make a big mess for you. So okay, so now we're back on the inside, and we're getting close to the middle hole again. I'm not going to go through this hole. I'm going to skip the middle one, and I'm going to go down to this one. Okay, and I'm going to snug up the thread, and I'll go with my last hole here. Whoops, go with my last hole here and snug that up. When you pull your thread, always pull in the direction that I know that I came from this direction, so I'm just snugging it up this way. I don't want to pull this way because it's going to tear the paper, and once the paper is torn, there's not much we can do to fix that. So always be mindful of which direction your thread is going, so you'll know which way to snug it up. So now I'm going to go back because I want to get back up to this middle. So now I'm going to go back through here, and I'm going to make sure that I don't pierce the thread that's already there. So it looks pretty good. Okay, and now I can go back through the middle hole. Okay, now let's look at this for a minute. The thread that we started with is on this side of my middle thread here. So I'm going to try to have my needle and my thread come up on this side of the thread. So I'm going to just take a peek there. Okay. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut this thread off. And now all we need to do and snug it up. And all we need to do is tie a square knot. So left over right, pull that nice and taut, and then right over left. And then I go a third time, I'll go left over right again. Okay, and we'll cut our threads. Not too close to the knot. And then what I like to do is take my bone folder and just kind of press that down, and the wax in the thread will help all that stick together. And that will, just in case that knot has any ideas of coming undone, it'll be a lot harder now because it's all flattened out. Plus, that way when you close the book, you won't have this big knot there poking out. Okay, so now we can take our paper clips and our paper off because we don't need that anymore. And go ahead and fold it closed, and I like to just take my bone folder and secure these folds a little bit and take a look at your handiwork, because now we have a 5-hole pamphlet stitched journal. If some of your holes got a little large from going in and out with your needle and thread, you can just take your bone folder and just kind of smooth all that down. And probably a good idea to set a stack of heavy books on top for a little while and just let all those pages get nestled in with each other. And while that's all going on, you can be thinking about how you're going to fill all these fabulous blank pages inside. So have a lot of fun with that.